Jon Favreau is back with The House of Mouse following his critically acclaimed and visually stunning live-action adaptation of Jungle Book, with a live-action reimagining of Disney classic The Lion King. Watching the trailers for this film, I was confused about how they were classing it as live-action. It was clear that the vast majority of the film, and certainly all of the characters, were CGI, which worried me due to the ongoing issues I have with bad CGI in the Uncanny Valley. However, it looked good for the most part. My main concern was just how the characters would look talking and singing. So then, what were my takeaways, and how did the film stack up to the original? There's no denying that it's a breathtaking reimagining. With its stunning visuals, it is an almost shot-for-shot remake, however I felt there was enough new to warrant its existence. The visual effects were a real spectacle. The materials and lighting, combined with superb character animation and fluid dynamic simulation, created a stunningly photorealistic experience that appears hyper-real. The animals had all the details you would expect to make them appear lifelike, such as physically realistic fur and motion. If I was to nitpick, I would say that some noise is visible in the darker areas of the fur, which may be something to do with the renders being underexposed and shadows being brought up in post-production. There were also issues occasionally with motion or maybe 3D matchmaking. It was most obvious in large movements such as leaping. The scene wouldn't quite gel and something would just feel off from time to time. But realistically, these are very small issues that will go unnoticed by most. The settings were equally as impressive. The visuals often felt like they would be more at home in a David Attenborough documentary than a Disney film. By going the hyper-real route, the film lost some of its character from the animation, resulting in a pretty jarring experience each time the lifelike characters broke into song. Technically, it is a very impressive feat, and no doubt a lot of artistry went into it, but limiting the animals' range of motion to their real-world anatomy felt a little disconnected with their speech and song. This was something I was concerned would be an issue going in, and while it was initially something of a distraction, I was surprised to find that my awareness of it quickly diminished to the point where I stopped noticing. It should also be said that by going hyper-real, some of that typical Disney expression, colour and uniqueness of characterization was lost. For example, when Scar and Simba fight towards the end, I found it difficult to distinguish which line was which due to Scar's colouring and distinguishing features being more muted, which is further compounded by the lighting and effects in the scene, as great as they are. Favreau and Disney brought together an enviable star-studded voice cast, with top billing going to the legendary James Earl Jones, returning as the commanding Mufasa, along with the vocal talents of Beyoncé and Donald Glover. However, Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner absolutely stole the show as Timon and Pumbaa. Their modern twist on the comedy pairing gave a new flavour to the characters, bringing some much-needed humour to the proceedings. Their dynamic was just spot on, and their new rendition of The Lion Sleeps Tonight was just so enjoyable. Thankfully, Hans Zimmer is back once again with his phenomenal score that we all know and love, complete with some brand new additions courtesy of Beyoncé and Elton John. There's just something so unique about the soundtrack that's only really been met by Lin-Manuel Miranda's music for the recent Moana. Standouts were Beyoncé and Donald Glover's beautiful rendition of Can You Feel the Love Tonight, as well as Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner's Hakuna Matata, which proved hilariously brilliant. However, Be Prepared was somewhat of a letdown, and vastly underwhelming in comparison to the original. Overall, Jon Favreau's reimagining of The Lion King is undoubtedly a visual triumph that builds upon amazing effects used in The Jungle Book. Its visuals, character moments and soundtrack additions are enough to distinguish it from the original without detracting from the story. I wouldn't call it the definitive version. There's still plenty of room for the excellent animation, voice action and soundtrack of the original, but I would fully expect this to sit on people's shelves next to their classic version in perpetuity. 2 thumbs up from me.